No sooner than I put out the word that Nic Palmer had passed away the other evening. Palmer, of course, being a KCBS news exec, news manager. Then I began to hear from various folks about Mr. Palmer, who died, um, I believe, what is today is Tuesday. So this would have been, or Monday. So Saturday evening. And KCBS and Odyssey finally put out an email late Sunday, uh, officially stating that Palmer had passed away. Now, the early cause of death was deemed as natural causes, but I have heard some very troubling things. First off, a little background. Palmer recently was one of the people at KCBS who was laid off, let go. And there's lots of politics involved in that decision. But nevertheless, he was let go. Um, I heard through the grapevine from various sources who would know and have very, shall we say, credible thoughts. Nothing is official and nobody wants to go on the record, but I was told by one particular person, and it was echoed by somebody else, that Palmer had begun drinking, that he was quite heavy for a man not that old. I think he was in his 40s. I don't believe uh, that he was any older than that. But that there were even reports that perhaps there's more to all this in terms of cause of death because he began drinking quite a bit. Now, nothing is official, but soon after my report last night, heard from a lot of people. And again, nobody wanted to go on the record, and this was all secondhand, some of it even third hand, but there began a quite a bit of different takes, and people that normally wouldn't talk about something, even off the record, began emailing me, and I just heard some very distressing information. Now, you might be saying, well, why are you talking about this? Precisely because of the fact that so many people sent me texts and emails, and none of them with an axe to grind, mind you. They just stated that he was in a very precarious situation and that he was very troubled and that he had began behavior consistent with someone who is troubled. Now, there's been nothing, again, nothing official, nor will there probably be for the time being. We don't know. But the explanation that I heard thus far that it was natural causes that is the cause of death, that's very, so we say, benign. Don't know the whole story. And if there is no story, then a lot of what many people who never talk, who began talking and saying things, who don't have any axe to grind, as I mentioned, don't have any kind of negativity on their palate, but spoke. And a lot of these people had been at KCBS or were at one time at KCBS who knew Mr. Palmer and stated that he was exhibiting very troubling behavior and that he had begun drinking quite a bit, and there were other factors which they didn't go into detail. Uh, Keep in mind, once again, this was someone who worked in the newsroom, a newsroom veteran, Mr. Palmer, who suddenly out of nowhere was laid off. They usually lay off people who are on the air, not that they being corporate, obviously lay off other people too, mostly people who, in their minds, make too much money, which is at the heart and soul of a lot of these layoffs today, especially when it comes to Odyssey stations and Cumulus. But let's stick with Odyssey. He was out of the blue laid off. And that's quite a bit of a jolt, I may add, I would think, and obviously proven correct here, to someone who had a routine, somebody who was very widely respected amongst his peers and colleagues. And then you're told, bye bye, you're gone. So, you know, a lot of information will come out eventually. But this troubling behavior I heard from 3 or 4 different people. And let me repeat this. No axe to grind. Couple who were very close to Palmer and had stated that they heard and had witnessed themselves behavior that they deemed to be troubling. Some of you out there who obviously work at KCBS or used to work at KCBS or maybe knew Palmer, I'd invite you to email me, my email address at rich.lieberman@gmail.com, and I will try, as always, to get it right. And not that it's wrong, but, give me some information. If you have it, I certainly would like to make the record straight and get to the bottom of this. Because right now it's sort of nebulous. It's all up in the air. So once again, do email me if you have some information, and we'll go from there. And of course, you will be anonymous. Never, ever, ever do I divulge sources. As long as the information is pertinent, please be advised that we will not talk about the situation and use your name. So thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.